Hi, I'm Father Terry Sweeney. I'm the rector of St. Stephen's Anglican Church in Tullahoma, Tennessee. First of all, I want to wish you a happy Mother's Day, and I want to offer just a reflection on Mother's Day just for the next few minutes. It seems like every year there arises a debate in the church whether or not to preach on Mother's Day or to preach the lessons for that Sunday. This would be the fifth Sunday of Easter. It's not an official church holiday, and I think maybe that may be part of the debate. Another part of the debate is often that phrase that every day should be Mother's Day, so there's nothing really special about that particular day. But the few times that I have not preached a Mother's Day sermon on Mother's Day, I've walked away from that service and sort of felt like I had missed the boat somehow. You see, when I think about it, I think about how important my mother was into my life in a variety of different ways. But I also think about the uniqueness that she was. See, we all have a biological mother. I'm an adopted child. I have a biological mother and a mother who raised me, and they both have died. But my biological mother, I was in her womb from 37 to 42 weeks when time was just right and God in his good pleasure decided it was time. I was birthed from the security of her womb into the sometimes chaos of this uncertain world that we live in. And from that moment on, at least in my case, I was given right at birth to my mom, that I know her to be my mom. And she became one of two amazingly important figures in my life, no matter how old I was, how educated I was, how much money I had or didn't have. There was nothing that changed the fact that she was predominant figure, one that I looked up to, that I loved, um, and that I called her mom. You see, my mom, maybe like yours, and I see my wife do this. They're often plumbers or gardeners, carpenters. They cook, they clean. They're like a personal shopper. They're a taxi driver, caregiver, therapist, advisor, referee, nurse, religious figure, competent. It just goes on, doesn't it? That many moms work outside the home, plus they have or share the responsibilities of children and home with a spouse. It's sounding a little bit like Psalm 31, but she works long into most nights, rising early to get a load of laundry in before she starts the rest of her day. Moms just seem like they are always moving. They're always on the go. There was a recent article that I read that said that if a stay-at-home mom or a mom was paid a going rate for everything that she did, she would earn approximately $162,581 a year based upon a 96-hour work week. I remember, again, my wife saying how much she wanted to be a mom. I'm not even sure if we were married at that point. We were close to it, though. And I remember saying to her, I thought having a puppy sounded pretty good. Well, she got her way, albeit several years later, we have children. So this morning, I'm going to borrow from the lessons for today in just one respect, and to reflect on how moms help their children follow the way. The way. In particular, I want to home in on Jesus saying and being the way, the truth, and the life. So the first thing we want to understand is that Jesus is not talking about a literal road, nor even a set of, say, a formula. If you do this, this happens. But instead, he's talking about, and he demonstrates a way in his life and commitment to his Father. And we, in turn, are to follow that way and be committed to him. We follow, and therefore we become like him. I'm teaching a catechism class on Wednesdays, and it's clear to me that the knowledge, the facts, the teaching itself, um, The knowledge contained in that, I'm sorry, I lost my place here, contained in the lessons is most effective when it's lived out day to day. Yes. You can have the knowledge, but if you're not living it out, I'm not sure what that means. It's not worth it. When Jesus says he's the way, he means he sets the direction of life, and we as believers then follow him, being assured of the final destination. It's guaranteed. In other words, we are assured of forgiveness. We are assured of reconciliation with God. We're assured of redemption and salvation. There is so much through our faith and knowledge getting worked out in our lives that we can count on. So there isn't this literal path. There is, however, Jesus, who is both the path and the way. It took me the longest time to figure out that God was concerned about my sins. Now that may sound foolish, but as a kid, it took me a while, and He would want me to sin less as a result of knowing and following Him. In other words, following Him made a difference. I was recently reading John 14. I was struck again with the vastness of God's kingdom. In my Father's house there are many mansions, rooms, if you will. If that were not so, I would tell you, but there are plenty. I'm preparing one for you. I'm coming back so you can take your place in one of those. The problem is not everybody wants a room. Not everybody is striving for a room. There's plenty of room for people who believe in Jesus, yet there's so many who refuse to believe. The second thing is that Jesus said that he was the way, the truth, and the life. Another way of saying that through following and imitating him, we find, if you will, an abundance of life. We find freedom. We find forgiveness. We find wholeness. One of the roles that I believe a mom has is what I would call a scout, the one that goes ahead and reports back. The scout, in essence, sort of sets the direction, leads the way. They search out danger, and they get a sense of the path ahead. If we apply that description to motherhood, what happens is mom knows her senses what's coming and guides her children accordingly and tries to steer them around bad decisions, or what could be referred to as danger. Sometimes I thought that my mother had eyes in the back of her head because I could never get away with anything. Never could. She always seemed to know. She knew what I was thinking, it seemed like. It was like she could read my mind. And later I discovered she had gotten together with all the other neighborhood moms to a degree to watch each other's children and report if they saw something that was a little wonky. So I was a little disappointed because I really thought my mother had some superpowers, but she didn't. She had a network of spies. She tried to show me the way by rules and morals and ethics. That was helpful. She taught me right and wrong, to tell the truth no matter what, to be honest, to be fair. She told me never to hit a girl, even when the neighbor girl gave me a bloody nose because I refused to run from her and I refused to hit her back. The way for my mother was rules demonstrated in good or bad behavior, right or wrong, reward and punishment. It was sort of black and white in a way. Things like keeping your word mattered to her, and she wanted it to matter to me. She wanted the way for me to be lived as an honest citizen whose life was full and complete because I knew how to maneuver the different paths that life would present to me. Choose the good. That was the hope that she had for me. Never choose the bad. Well, as a child, Sundays were very empty. I knew it was not just an ordinary day. No one had ever told me that. I somehow or another sensed that. And I yearned for something that actually turned out to be God. I had a craving. I had an emptiness. There was a craving for God. Yeah, I started to go to church with a friend and eventually settled on my best childhood friend's church. It was a different church. And the denomination played a big role in my mother being very discouraging about attending. She didn't like the church. She didn't like the denomination. For her, the way the church would lead me was far different from her upbringing as a primitive Baptist, even though she refused to go to church herself. Here's what many of us eventually find out: that the expectations of our parents, especially our moms, sometimes we fail at. And sometimes it appears that we fail when we actually don't. Sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not. But you see, I began to wonder if there wasn't something more to life than trying to be good. God's mercy and providence, I came to believe that Jesus offers me a way that I cannot refuse. Listen to this dialogue. It's very quick. Jesus, I'm going to prepare a place for you. Thomas says, we don't know where you're going. Jesus says, well, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Philip says, show us the Father. Jesus says, you still don't know me after all this time? This is when it hit me. The way was Jesus himself, knowing him personally and deeply, knowing about him, acting like him, believing in him, being all in for Christ. Now, my mom was like many others. She taught me that which she thought would help me to become a good citizen and a good man. She said she knew too many Christians who weren't. She especially saw the flaws of the organized church. She saw them as fatal. Therefore, the church had nothing to offer as she saw it. It was a sham. It was illegitimate. This was her opinion. Imagine her disappointment when I announced I was going to study to become an Anglican priest. Over time, my mom came to live with us. She joined us in worship. I was privileged to baptize her. She grew in personal faith and knowledge of Christ, and this became part of her life. She went through an amazing transformation. She found Jesus as the way. She died early one morning in our house, with Olivia and I standing around her, reaching up to heaven with the look of eternity on her face. Moms, there is no doubt that you have strived as hard as you could to help your children become good citizens. That honestly is a more than full-time task. You've no doubt exposed them to religious education. You've introduced them to Jesus, and blessed are you for doing so. I've had deep questions about God as long as I can remember. The one thing that my mother didn't do was try to help me find the answers. Her heart was hardened towards religion. At the time, it just made the mystery I felt more profound. I was a sponge soaking up any form of spirituality that I could get. As much as Mom did not believe in the organized church, I did, and found great solace and comfort in the church because through word and sacrament, Jesus became real for me, personal for me. My soul was fed. I'm ever so grateful for my mom. I'm sure your children and grandchildren feel the same about you. Moms, you are so amazingly important and instrumental in the lives of your children. God bless you. Continue to point the way as scouts. Point to Jesus. Point to Jesus as the way and the truth and the life for them to live. So as this message comes to an end, I'd like for you to take your cell phone, and if possible, I want you to send an I love you text to your mom, to one of your children, your grandchildren, someone you know who is an exceptional mom herself. Let them know that this day, not only you love them, but Jesus Christ loves them as well. We'll take a few minutes and then we'll resume. God bless you.